All right, we're going to look at something about the Seder, being that Pesach is just over 2 weeks away. And it's a very interesting idea at looking at the sort of flow of the entire Seder. If you could say that there's one number that is associated with the Haggadah and the Seder night, it would be
4.
The number 4. Why? What are the 4s in the Seder?
4 cases.
4
cups.
4 cups of wine that we drink.
Questions.
4 questions of the Manishtana.
4 sons.
4 sons.
4 cups. Did you say that?
Yep. So 3 matzahs. Okay, but you would break one in half. So the number 4 seems to be a theme that comes up over and over in the Seder, in the Haggadah. Why is that? Why is the number 4 a significant number? So we'll have a look. Number 1 on your sheet is a quote from the Talmud. The Talmud says that on the night of Pesach, even the poorest Israelite should drink no less than 4 cups of wine, even if he needs to take handouts from the communal plate. It's a mitzvah to have 4 cups of wine, and so the Talmud says to the point where if you can't afford it, you should take from charity in order to be able to afford 4 cups of wine. And that's why specifically before Pesach, because there are so many expenses, matzah, wine, and all the other yontiv things, there's a specific time to give charity for the needy to make sure everybody can celebrate Pesach.
Similar to Purim now.
Different to Purim. Purim is also a big time of charity. I mean, we always emphasize tzedakah.
Every day.
That's right. But before Pesach, because of the great expenses, and so the emphasis here is that wine is not a luxury. It's something that everybody should have, or grape juice. Everybody should have 4 cups of wine. It's a Talmudic thing. It's a rabbinical law. It's not a Torah law to drink 4 cups of wine. Matzah, eating matzah is in the Torah. Drinking wine is from the Talmud, from the rabbis. So why 4 cups of wine? Why is 4 of all numbers? Why is it specifically 4? So Rashi, the great commentary on the Talmud, on the Gemara, says the 4 cups of wine correspond to the 4 expressions of redemption in the verse in the Torah that refers to the Exodus from Egypt. In the book of Exodus it says, I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians, I will free you from their slavery, I will deliver you with the demonstration of my power and with great acts of judgment, I will take you for me as a nation. So there are 4 verbs here. I'll bring you out. Hitzeisi, I will free you. Hitzalti, I will deliver you. Go'alti, and I'll take you out. I'll take you as a nation. V'lakachti. There are 4 verbs in that verse. So Hashem says there are 4 things I'm going to do for you: bring you out, free you, deliver you, and take you as a nation. So because of those 4 expressions of redemption, we drink 4 cups of wine corresponding to the 4 expressions of redemption. And so we see, because this verse is such a central verse describing the event of the Exodus, so the number 4 became a theme in the Haggadah. And so we drink 4 cups of wine, and we also ask 4 questions. The Manishtana, which is number 3 on the page, is the 4 questions that we ask a child to ask, because the setup of the Seder should be a question and answer. So if there are children, the children ask and the adults answer. If there are no children, the adults ask each other. If there's only one person, if you're having a Seder by yourself, you ask yourself the questions and answer the questions. The reason is because a question being answered is going to be much more interesting than just saying a statement. When you get people to ask, you even ask yourself. You ask yourself the questions. So Manishtana is not just if there are kids around. You ask yourself the questions as well. And also it's actually a lesson in learning generally when you study or read something. So if you don't ask questions, you're probably not going to actually learn it. You're not engaging in the topic. Only when people ask questions are they involved. And so that's why we encourage asking questions. That's why of the four sons, the last one on the list is the one who doesn't know how to ask. Because if you don't know how to ask, even if you're a wicked person, if you're a Russia, and you're asking questions, as long as you're asking, it's good. If you don't know how to ask, that's the worst. That's the end of the line. So asking questions is always good. So what are the 4 questions? So we know that Manishtana, why is this night different from all other nights? On all other nights we are not required to dip even once, and this night we dip twice. What are the 2 dippings? We dip a vegetable in salt water, karpas, and we dip the marrow, the bitter herbs, in the charosis. So why do we dip twice? Second question, on all other nights we eat chametz, which is leaven, or matzah. On this night we eat only matzah. 3, on all other nights we eat any type of vegetables. On this night we eat marrow, bitter herbs. And 4, on all other nights we eat either sitting or reclining. On this night we all recline, as it is a mitzvah when you eat the matzah or drink the wine to recline, to lie down, lean, which was a royal way of eating in times of old. So these are the 4 questions. Again, why 4? Because of the 4 expressions of redemption, 4 cups of wine, 4 questions. And then the Haggadah also lists 4 children, the 4 sons. And it says, this is number 4 on the page, the Torah speaks of 4 children. One is wise, one is wicked, one is simple, and one does not know how to ask. And then the Haggadah continues and says that the wise son asks a very wise, complicated question. The wicked son asks a very pointed, attacking question. The simple son asks a very simple question. And the one who doesn't know how to ask, doesn't ask anything. You have to initiate the discussion with him. Which, by the way, where in the Torah are these 4 sons?
Where in the Torah?
Yeah. Do you remember Parsha saying there are 4 sons? It actually doesn't say in the Torah anyway there are 4 sons. There are 4 places in the Torah that describe a conversation between parents and children about the exodus from Egypt. And in 3 of them there's a question that the child asks. In one of them it just says you should tell your child. And so the Midrash extrapolates from there 4 sons. They never existed, these people. They're theoretical sons. There's a wise question in the Torah from a wise son and an answer you have to give him. There's an attacking question that seems to be having a go at things, so that's a wicked son. There's a very simple question, and then there's one where you have to tell the answer without being asked because the child doesn't know how to ask. So they're put together, but they're really from different places in the Torah. Again, why 4? Why we have got 4 sons? Because the number 4 is the undercurrent of the entire Seder. The number 4 seems to fit. That is what it seems on the surface. And in fact, the number 4 is a very appropriate number as well because the whole creation is created based on the number 4. Why? Because God's name has 4 letters in it. The Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, 4-letter name of God, which represent 4 different types of emanation of divine energy. Kabbalistically, we're told there are 4 worlds. Atzilus, Bri, Yetzirah, and Asiya, 4 spiritual worlds that exist. So the number 4 is the blueprint of creation. It's also the expression of redemption, 4 expressions of redemption. The Exodus is a 4-pronged Exodus. That's what it seems on the surface. Now there's a really strange statement in the Talmud, in the Gemara in Pesachim. It's number 5 on your page, where it says, after going through the whole Seder, the whole things you do at the Seder, it says, over the 5th cup, you recite the Great Hallel. The Great Hallel is a section of Tehillim that says, Hod L'Shem Kitov, Ki Li'olam Chastoy, and has a whole bunch of Ki Li'olam Chastoys. So, it says in the Talmud, on the 5th cup of wine, you should say the Hallel. After going through, each cup has its own mitzvah. The first cup is Kiddush. You say Kiddush on the first cup of wine. The second cup is you tell the story of the Haggadah, and then you drink it at the end. The third cup is for benching. The 4th cup is for Hallel. And then it says the 5th cup is the Great Hallel, an extra section of Tehillim. 5th cup? We just said 4 cups. The Talmud itself said 4 cups of wine. Where's the 5th cup come from? How come the Talmud says to drink a 5th cup over the Hallel? So Tosfos, one of the commentaries on the Gemara, is number 6, says this is a printing error. It should read over the 4th cup, not the 5th, because there are only 4 cups. Sometimes the Talmud was in manuscript form, copied from one to another, and sometimes printing errors would sneak into the manuscript. Like it wouldn't be so hard to happen. It wasn't published in the way we have publishing today. It was copied from one to another. So sometimes a word could be wrong or something could be mistaken. And so saying the 5th cup, it's a printing error that has crept into our versions of the Talmud because there was no 5th cup, it was a 4th cup. Somebody must have got confused. That's what Tosfos says. You don't like it, huh? How could there be a printing error in the Talmud? So you're right. It couldn't be. It's not enough. It's not enough to say that it is a printing error. We can't do that. And so, what did you say? There is that.
So what about Eliyahu Hanavi?
What about him?
It's fine.
Oh, there's another cup, right? We know there's another cup. We pour 4 cups of wine, but there is a 5th cup. What's the 5th cup? Eliyahu Hanavi's cup. So it didn't say you drink the 5th cup in the Talmud. It says over the 5th cup you say the Great Hallel. But there is a 5th cup that we do pour.
Yeah, we don't do the Great Hallel over the Eliyahu's cup.
Well, it is. But it's sitting there. That's when we say the Great Hallel, and the cup is sitting there. So why not? So indeed, we know from experience there is a 5th cup that we do pour, and Tosfos saying it's a printing error that's maybe jumping the gun a bit. No, there is a 5th cup that we do pour. Maybe Tosfos didn't have that custom. Maybe he didn't do it. It's possible. Maybe in his community there wasn't such a thing. Or maybe he understood the 5th cup as having to be drunk, which we don't drink it.
Yeah, but don't we not allowed to drink anything after the 4th cup?
Yeah.
So maybe the 5th cup we could drink during
For the blessings.
the meal.
Before the 4th cup.
Yeah, during the meal.
There's not a fifth cup.
It's not a bad thing. What it means.
You can drink whatever you want during the meal. You can drink 7 cups of wine during the meal if you want to, but that's not a part of the Seder. It's not a ceremonial thing.
Yeah, so then the fifth cup, you can't do wise drink because you can't drink after the fourth cup.
Unless you can't drink after the 5th cup. You can't drink after. You're not allowed to eat anything or drink anything after the afikomen, except for the 3rd and 4th cup, which are a mitzvah drinking. So if there's a 5th cup, you could drink that as well. But the question is there a 5th cup and do we drink it? Look at number 7, it's Rambam. Maimonides in the Laws of Pesach writes, one should pour a 5th cup of wine and read over it the Great Hallel, but this cup is not obligatory as the 4 others are. So the reason why the Gemara says there are 4 cups of wine and then suddenly brings in the 5th cup is because the 5th cup was not obligatory. It was, if you want to, you can do a 5th cup, but it's not an obligation. And that's why Tosfos, who didn't do it in his community, wasn't done, when he read the Gemara, said it must be a printing error because we don't have a 5th cup. There's no such thing. Because it was never an obligation. Certain communities did it, certain didn't. Individuals did it, some did, some didn't. It's not an obligation. Which is now very strange. Why do we have a cup that you don't have to have? If there's 4 cups, there's 4 cups, no 5th. If there's a 5th cup, there's 5, not 4. Why say there's 4 cups, and then there's this sort of 5th cup that maybe we do, maybe we don't? Where do you see such a thing? Where is there a thing in Yiddishkeit that's optional, and if you want it, but it not really necessary, you don't have to do it? And then why do it in the first place? Why would some do it and some not? It's a very, very unusual thing. So, Rabbi Nissim, the Ran, another commentary on the Gemara, says even further. 4 cups are obligatory, the 5th is optional, but it's best to drink the 5th cup too. He actually says you should drink the 5th cup. So we've now got 3 clearly different opinions. Tosfos says there's no such thing as a 5th cup. Rambam says there is a 5th cup, but it's not obligatory. You can or cannot, but he doesn't mention drinking it. And then Rabbi Nissim says that no, there's a 5th cup. It's not obligatory, but it's best to do it and to drink it, to drink 5 cups. So what's going on? And we know what is our practice.
Yeah, cheers in the wine company.
Could be. Well, Rashi was a winemaker, right. So we expect him to say that. And Tosfos for his grandchildren. What do we do? How many cups do we pour? Well, we drink 4, but we pour a 5th. We do pour a 5th cup, which we call Eliyahu Novi's cup.
That throws everything out of sync.
Why?
You said before there's 4 questions, 4 sons, 4 everything. Now you're making it 5 cups.
Well, sort of 5,
yeah.
which sort of doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
So definitely, according to the Rambam, it's optional. According to the Ran, it's the best way to do it, and you've ruined your whole pattern. It's all supposed to be 4, now it's 5. It's going to be a problem. Keep that thought. So we actually do pour a 5th cup, but we don't drink it. We call it Eliyahu Novi's cup. Just interestingly, on the other side of the page, the Vilna Gaon, the Gra, explains that being that there is a disagreement over the 5th cup, whether you should have it or not, and whether you drink it or not, we pour it but don't drink it. When Eliyahu Hanavi comes before Mashiach, he's going to clarify all ambiguities in Jewish law, and he'll tell us what to do. So we call the 5th cup Kos Shel Eliyahu. So the Vilna Gaon has a very original explanation why we call it Eliyahu's cup. We call it that because we say we're pouring it for him because Eliyahu visits the Seder. The Vilna Gaon had a different explanation, and that is that we need Eliyahu to come and tell us whether to drink it or not. Because Eliyahu is going to sort out all difference of opinion in Talmudic law and tell us what the halacha is. So we've got 2 opinions, whether to have a 5th cup or not, and even if we have it, whether to drink it or not. So we pour it and wait for Eliyahu to come and tell us whether we drink it or not. But we know that the reason why we pour the 5th cup and call it Eliyahu's cup is because it's for him. Because Eliyahu does visit every Seder night, and so he actually, spiritually at least, drinks the cup. Now, why does Eliyahu visit the Seder? Why do we have Eliyahu coming to our Seder? What's the idea? What's his connection to leaving Egypt?
And also, it's his punishment, no? To be at all the simchas.
Now that was about bris.
That's only bris, is it?
Yeah. And even that, some say it's a reward, not a punishment. Yeah. But what's he to do with the Seder? Why is Eliyahu coming to the Seder? And why do we have this 5th cup that's sort of yes and sort of there, sort of not, a bit in, a bit out? It seems very strange. So the idea is that there's something about Pesach, and something that it's an underlying theme also about Pesach, that it's an unfinished story. The exodus from Egypt was the beginning of a long story that has not ended yet. Because we were free from Egypt, but we're still in exile. We're back in exile. And even though we had Moshe leading us and everything was wonderful, but the Jewish people have suffered a lot since then as well. And so the exodus from Egypt is not a complete process. What we're celebrating on Pesach is the beginning of a long historical march from slavery to freedom that began in Egypt, started with the Exodus, but it ends when Mashiach comes. And a big part of the whole Seder is looking forward to Mashiach. That we started the redemption then, but we're waiting for the final redemption when we'll be finished with all pharaohs and all Egypts and all the problems of the world. So the beginning of the Seder emphasizes much more the exodus from Egypt. The end of the Seder is much more about the future times. And the fifth cup, which we pour for Eliyahu Novi, is because he comes and visits us and encourages us and says, don't worry, soon I'm going to come physically, really, and announce the coming of Mashiach. And so drinking a fifth cup, or at least pouring a fifth cup, having the fifth cup on the table, is showing that the 4 steps of redemption have happened. That was in Egypt. But the fifth step, the final step, is yet to come. And that is when Eliyahu will come and announce the coming of Mashiach. And so, therefore, in the Seder, if you have a look at it even a little bit more carefully, you'll see that there is the number 4 in all these things, but really there's a missing 5th in all of the things we mentioned. In all of the 4s that we just mentioned, there's a 5th that's there but not there. Just like the cup, there's 4 cups, and then there's a 5th cup that's there but not there. We pour it but don't drink it. So too, in the 4 sons and the 4 questions, and the 4 expressions of redemption, we'll see there's a 5th that is there but not there. Look at number 10. Number 10 is again from the Gemara. The Gemara lists, the Mishnah, lists the questions of the Manishtana. And it has the 4 that we know. The question about leaning, the question about dipping, the question about matzah, the question about maror. But it also has a 5th question in the Mishnah. The child should ask his parent the following questions. And one of the questions is, why is this night different to all other nights? On all other nights we eat meat either roasted or boiled or cooked. On this night only roasted. You ever heard the Manishtana with that in it?
No.
What's that talking about? The Mishnah says you should ask this question as well, which is a 5th question. What's that talking about?
And do we really do that?
No.
I didn't know that
We don't.
roasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we have roasted meat on the night? In fact, the custom is not to have roasted.
Oh, really?
You should not have roast on the night. You don't need it. You don't need it. So what's this talking about? With this question, it says in the Mishnah, we don't even do this. We don't ask the question and we don't do it. We don't have roasted meat. So what's it talking about? It's not about the times of the temple. In the times of the Beis HaMikdash in the temple, one of the main features of the Seder was the Korban Pesach, the Pesach lamb that was roasted on a spit and eaten at the end of the Seder. When we eat afikomen, the piece of matzah, that's to commemorate the sacrifice that was eaten at the end of the Seder, a piece of lamb. Everyone in the family would get a piece of lamb that had been slaughtered in the temple that day, and then roasted on a spit and shared out. And that was what Pesach was, the Pesach sacrifice. And it had to be roasted. It was roasted on a spit, not boiled or cooked or any other way. It had to be roasted specifically. And so in the times of the temple, in the time when the Beis HaMikdash stood, so they asked the 5th question. How come on all of the nights we can eat roasted or boiled or cooked in any way, but tonight we only eat roasted meat? And we don't ask that question anymore because we don't do it anymore. We don't have a temple, we don't have the sacrifice, so we don't eat a lamb on the night of the Seder. We no longer have that. So we don't ask that question. It doesn't apply to us anymore. And in fact, on the contrary, we actually go out of our way not to roast meat on the night of the Seder, to not look like we're imitating the sacrifice, because you can't bring a sacrifice outside of Jerusalem, outside of the temple. So therefore, this 5th question, there's a 5th question of Manishtana, but we don't have it anymore. It's not there anymore. So there's a 5th that's missing, a missing 5th.
This is a question that will come again.
But when Mashiach comes, it will come again because we'll have the temple rebuilt.
We still do
And
Pesach.
yeah, we'll have Pesach, Korban Pesach for sure. And we'll have roast on the spit. And we won't have to eat more matzah. We'll have proper.
You can't have the whole lamb on the spit.
Yeah.
You're not
No, everything will be kosher.
Oh, it will all be kosher.
You can eat the
But
hind
now you
legs
can't have
then
the whole
in
lamb,
time of
right?
Mashiach, no?
Well, you can now if you remove the sciatic nerve.
Yeah, they
People do it in Israel, in
yeah.
America.
Can
Yeah,
you
sure,
get a
sure.
spit lamb?
Just here they
So,
don't.
can you get it here? I would like to.
Here, I don't think they do it.
Would pig be kosher then?
There is an idea that pig will become. It'll change its nature and become
So it's
kosher.
possible that
On the spit, yeah, but
you have a pig
not,
on a spit with an apple in the mouth?
but not a Pesach, not for Pesach.
No, Pesach.
I just stick to faking.
Okay, so we've got the missing 5th cup. Now we've got the missing 5th question. Now, what about the four sons? There's a missing fifth son as well. There's a very interesting letter that the Rebbe wrote in 1957. Every year for Pesach, the Rebbe would write a letter addressed to the entire Jewish people. Quite a unique thing. He would write a letter to all the Jewish people, wherever you may be, and it would be some idea, something to think about for Pesach. So listen to this one. This is from 1957, number 11 on the page. Pesach is about answering our children's questions. The questions and answers vary depending on the type of child, the wise, the wicked, the simple, and the one who does not know how to ask. But despite their differences, these four children have one thing in common. They all are present at the Seder. They have some connection with and interest in Judaism. This gives us hope that even the wicked child will turn out wise, fully involved with the life of Torah. At least he's at the Seder asking questions, so he's there. But sadly, says the Rabbi, in our times, there is another type of child. The child that does not even show up to the Seder. He asks no questions because he has no connection with Judaism. He's not even aware that the Seder is happening. So there's a fifth child that's not even there. The wicked son, at least he's there. He's challenging, he's making issues, he's kvetching, but he's at the Seder at least. Whereas there's a fifth child that doesn't know it's Pesach, doesn't know about the Seder, or is so not interested it doesn't even show up. So says the Rebbe, we must turn our attention to these children long before the Seder night. We must be willing to do all for these children with complete selflessness and boundless love. Not one child can be forgotten. Each one must be inspired to step out of their state of disconnect and invited to the Seder table. So the Rebbe says that the four children that are at the Seder, you can work with them at the Seder. Even the wicked son who's asking pointed questions, okay, but there's a conversation, there's communication going on. But the son that doesn't even show up, that doesn't even come, you can't wait till Seder night and say, where is he? It's too late. Long before the Seder, you have to be finding those children and making sure that they're invited to a Seder, they're connected. And of course, it doesn't here mean children in age. It means any Jewish soul who is disconnected. They're not coming to Seder. Why aren't they coming to Seder? Because they don't feel a connection, or they don't know it's important, or they haven't been invited, or they're just unaware completely, they're ignorant of it. We have to chase them, we have to seek them out, and we have to invite them in and make sure that they connect to their own heritage, which belongs to them. So the Rebbe introduced this idea of a fifth son, that there's a missing fifth child that's not at the Seder, that's not there. So not only there are four sons, there's also a missing fifth.
There's the fifth cup that's yet to come. There's a fifth son that's not existent or not around.
Not at the Seder, yep.
There's a fifth. There's another one.
Fifth question of the Manish Tana, which we don't have now because we don't have a temple. So when Mashiach comes, what will happen? We'll have all of them.
Except we won't have the kid that's not there.
No, we will.
Yeah, it will.
But
So
he'll be there.
he will be there.
No, we'll have five. We'll have five children at the Seder.
Right.
He won't be missing anymore. He'll be at the Seder. So we'll have the Beis HaMikdash. So we'll have the meat, and we'll have the question, the fifth question. We'll be able to drink Eliyahu's cup because Eliyahu will be there. We'll have the redemption, and the fifth son will come back. And in fact, it's dependent on that Mashiach can only come when all those fifth children are returned, when all those lost souls come back. We have to bring them back, because not one soul can miss out. And so that's why, you see, the Rebbe wrote this in 1957, when outreach was not all that popular. Like to go to this fifth child, somebody who's not interested in the Seder, in 1957, and invite them to a Seder. Oh, what do you mean? I'm not interested. I'm not interested into that. There was no interaction in those days between religious and secular people. It didn't exist. Like, they didn't talk to each other. Certainly not about religion. And here the Rebbe was saying that no, our job is to, long before Pesach, make sure that they're involved. Because what was the Rebbe's goal? Because we can't bring Mashiach when there's all these souls that are lost. It's not going to happen. So you want to be able to drink Eliyahu's cup and have the fifth cup at the Seder. You want to be able to have the Korban Pesach back in the fifth question. So then you have to make sure the fifth child comes back to the Seder. We have to reconnect those fifth children. And that's...
Is that the idea of Mitzrayim?
Yeah.
That's
it. That's it. That's what it's about. To connect every Jew to their soul. And 50, 60 years on, you see that the Rebbe's vision has got somewhere, but hasn't finished yet. Now, but hang on a minute. This is all very nice. We've got the four that's really five in the four questions, the four sons, and the four cups. But didn't Rashi say that the 4 cups are based on 4 expressions of redemption in the Torah? The Torah expresses it in 4 ways. So you can't. So there must be a 5th.
Yeah.
So we have to look at the verse again. Look at number 12. So the 4 are there. I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. I will free you from their slavery. I will deliver you with a demonstration of my power and with great acts of judgment. I will take you for me as a nation. And then I will bring you to the land I swore to give Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That last one, I will bring you, Vehevesi, that Rashi wasn't counting. Why? Because that wasn't the exodus from Egypt, that was coming to the land of Israel. Mm-hmm. And that happened, you could say 40 years later, or you could say it hasn't happened yet. That we haven't yet received the land of Israel fully, because we were there but we were exiled. We were there but we were kicked out again. Even now we're in the land of Israel, but
it's all temporary.
It's not safe. It's not completely ours. We've got all these risks and questions, and it's debated about. We haven't yet reached the land of Israel. We haven't reached the promise yet. So the first 4 were about leaving Egypt. That happened. 4 have happened, but the 5th is yet to happen. It's yet to be experienced. That's why Rashi didn't count it, and that's why we don't have a 5th cup corresponding to that yet. But we do have it. We pour it because we pour it with hope. We pour it with expectation that Eliyahu is going to come, and we're going to be brought to the land, and we're going to have the Korban Pesach, and the 5th child will come and rejoin us, and that will be when Mashiach comes. So that missing 5th is still there, and it's actually there from the beginning in the Torah in the very first place, and that's also reflected in something that the Rabbi said in another letter in 1969. He said, we pour the cup of Eliyahu, but we don't drink it. Because it represents a level that lies beyond the scope of human effort. It represents the final redemption, which we cannot reach on our own. So we pour the cup, but you can't drink it because it's not yours. We're waiting for Hashem to send us Mashiach. And yet we pour it. We don't do nothing, we do pour it, because every Jewish soul has faith in the redemption. No matter what spiritual state we may be on the surface, everyone believes in and awaits the revival of Mashiach. Even the 5th son who doesn't come to the Seder, deep down their soul wants it, and they're also waiting for it. And so for them we pour the cup of Eliyahu, we pour the cup in hope that it will come, and then all the 5ths will be rejoined, that the 5th element will join back on. And that's why also we open the door for Eliyahu Navi, because we have to do our bit, that we have to make our effort to bring Mashiach and make it happen, to make the world a little bit better. So at least open the door for Eliyahu Navi, at least do the actions that make it possible for Eliyahu to come. We pour the cup and we wait for him, and God willing, this year at the Seder we'll open the cup and Eliyahu will walk in, we'll drink the 5th cup, the 5th son will join us, and we'll have a Korban Pesach.
Why does Tosafot say that it's only 4 and he disagrees completely?
Because it was never an obligation. What Tosfos says actually reflects the reality, and that is that this 5th cup is an elusive cup. We don't really have it, to the point where some communities didn't do it. It was never an obligation. You can't obligate. An obligation means something that we've achieved, we've got there. The 5th cup we haven't got there yet, so it can't be an obligation. So in some...
Is it customary in the latter years?
Yeah.
Then how come he says?
Although it's in the Talmud. So Tosfos is saying it's a printing error and never was, because in his community we never did it. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Ran, who's also from those times, says no. It's not obligatory, but you should do it, and you should even drink it. So we see all these different opinions, because obviously it was around, but it wasn't universal. Because it's elusive. It's not yet. We haven't got it yet.
But if Tosfos knew that it was elusive,
no, he didn't.
He didn't know at all. So he genuinely believed it was a misprint.
It was a misprint because we don't do that. In his community, they never did it.
Very good. There should be no more 5th children.
That's right. That's right.
So what about the one that's creating Shem Smith Dalla, right?
Yeah.
So is it number 5?
Yeah.
The 5th element.
Yid. Yisrael.
And so it's Priyasia.
Yud Ke Vav Ke also, the 4 letters of Hashem's name. There's also the crown on the top of the Yud, the Koitzer Shel Yud, which is considered higher than all the other 4. Yeah, there's Adam Kadmon, which is the before the 4 worlds. There was a vision of what would be. So there's a missing 5th. Yeah, and the 5 books of the Torah are 5 as well. It says Bereshis is the higher one, and then the 4 that come after. So the 4 that's really 5.